morning, everybody. Ty here. Normally, I don't put up morning videos, but been missing for a couple of days here, and I'm not really a fan of that. So, making the sacrifice for you guys. Only got a few minutes before I actually get ready for work here, so gonna try to put this video together as quickly as I can, but also the best that I can. Hope you guys enjoy this one and you find it useful. Definitely make sure you hit that like button, especially, and also share. But quick rundown of what we could see as we go over these next couple of weeks here. It's kind of an update video to what we had earlier this week, but there have been a few changes in a couple of days I'm starting to kind of hone in on just a little bit. We do have a slight risk today for severe weather. This is really going to be the tail end of that little system that we had roll through yesterday. We did have some notable hail yesterday. There were a few warnings that I did see in the times that I was on the computer where we did have hail up to about 2 inches in diameter. There were some wind reports. Tornado threat's going to be on the marginal side. It's really the hail and wind threat that's going to be the domineering hazards today. Wouldn't expect a whole lot. I think it's going to be an isolated event, kind of like yesterday. The severe warnings and reports are kind of sparse and few and far in between here. Can't rule out a tornado, but I would consider it to be a non-zero day, if you will. In regards to the following day, pretty much a similar deal. It's over towards Florida Panhandle where we have the best chance for tornadoes. Otherwise, you're pretty much looking at a popcorn thunderstorm threat where maybe the area down the street gets a storm and you get nothing. So we'll have to see how that goes. We're kind of settling into that summer pattern pretty quickly here. And the trend is pretty much the same as we head into the following day. The mega block is starting to slowly dissipate. So as a result, I would expect to see some changes in regards to these temperatures here as we go forward. If you're over towards the east here, the trough is going to be hanging around for a little bit longer. This little, almost what appears to be even a cutoff trough that kind of pops up here as we head into the beginning of next week. It's going to keep the temperatures down and also going to keep rain chances up. And then as we go further along, it's this feature right here, and I'm watching from New Mexico all the way over towards Oklahoma and maybe even towards the Midwest here as we go from the 13th to the 16th next week, where there might be a chance of severe storms here or there. Now, there are some parameters missing with this in particular. And then also over here towards the far reaches of the Midwest here and into the Ohio Valley, there could be a chance of some storms, a few of which could possibly go severe. Now, this isn't any of the high-end setups that we've seen from April or March here, so I wouldn't be too concerned about this. But of course, as we're getting closer towards summertime, you always want to keep your eye on the weather, especially if you have plans outside. Picnics, barbecues, all that's becoming more common, especially as we get towards the weekend here. So I know some of us are warming up for the Memorial Day weekend, which is not far away at all. So definitely want to make sure that you're always keeping an eye on the weather in case a thunderstorm pops up here. Don't want anything bad to happen as a result. We'll watch that trough move out. I have another trough that kind of pops up towards the 20th, the weekend of the 20th and beyond here. This is going to start to affect the deep south a little bit. One thing that I always try to remind people also is, even though you see this ridge here, on the downslope of these ridges in particular, and on the upslope here, right before you get to the crest here, you can still have chances for showers and thunderstorms. So even over towards the far northwest here, we might have some chances here and there. Wouldn't expect anything significant out of any of these at this time. And this is pretty much how we're going to end out the pattern here before all is said and done. Before we end up the 25th here, end out the setup for the 25th, even though we're at no man's land, based off this look, wouldn't be surprised if we get an odd severe storm or two over towards Colorado, Wyoming, maybe even Utah before all is said and done here. So definitely want to be paying attention to that. So looking at the mid levels of the atmosphere, and this is kind of why I'm a little bit less impressed with this setup, but like I said, it's something I'm kind of picking up on. I'm still in the process of picking up on it, so to speak. Short waves are going to be there. You see these little contour lines popping up towards the 13th, the 14th. Not as pronounced on Wednesdays. We had on Tuesdays. We had the Wednesdays become a little bit more pronounced over here towards New Mexico, Texas, especially as we get into the latter part of the afternoon into the evening. Probably not going to go live for this. I actually have some plans set up for Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, so probably might want to expect a couple more morning videos possibly as we get into later next week. But from what I've seen here so far, not anything that's really kind of caught my eye in particular that says this is going to be a big day for severe weather as of right now. As we know, this can quickly change. We're still looking a week out in advance, but the areas that I'm most interested in: New Mexico, Texas, Oklahoma, maybe even Kansas for the 15th. Then, depending on how this trends here towards the 16th, maybe the Midwest could get a little bit of action here as well. Then always, of course, as I mentioned before, on the upslope of these ridges here, there could be an odd chance of a shower or thunderstorm. And considering how the temperature is going to be ramping up over towards this region, there's always a chance that that ends up going severe as well. Here, but that's going to be here and there, and that's not even, right now, that's neither here nor there. So lastly, we're going to take a look at this little interesting area over here. It's over towards the southeast coast. This is where I think our best chance for shower and storm activity is. I really think this is going to be a little mesoscale system that kind of moves in from northwest to southeast here. So kind of the typical summertime setup. Really just depends on how the upper air pattern flows here, which matches up perfectly with the 500 millibar region. So from airliner cruiser altitude all the way towards the mid levels, everything's kind of matching up here. Not an ideal setup for a tornado outbreak or anything like that, so no worries, but showers and storms do seem like they're going to be a prominent thing over deep south as we get towards the very end of this month. So take a look quickly at this low level jet here, and this is really what kind of has me turned off to increase severe potential here. I don't know how it ended up all the way towards the end, but that's what we're dealing with right now. Low level jet is not really going to be all that prominent. The best low level jet that I've seen is on the 13th, but everything else doesn't match up along with it. It's a combination that you need to get robust severe weather. Right now, we're not seeing a whole lot of it. So get towards the 21st, that's the, not 21st, but the 14th, that's the day that kind of interests me the most. I think that's where we have the best chance for some severe weather. Like I said, low-level jet's kind of there, but it really depends on if we can get storms to fire here. I do think a cap is going to be in place, which might end up holding a lot of these storms back. If the cap breaks, though, that could get interesting. We get towards the Thursday setup. This is on the 15th. We do have good low-level jet there as well, so kind of interested in seeing how that pans out. Don't know if we'll be live for that one either. And then on Friday, here's the big limiting factor there. Not much in the way of low-level jet at all. I do think that if we did get a severe setup for Friday, it would most likely be a hailer. The hail setups are best for those high shear in the upper levels of the atmosphere, but the lower level, we have the less shear, the better for hail. So we go further along beyond this point here, you can see pretty much a similar deal. Some pockets of low-level jet here and there from the 22nd to the 23rd here towards the deep south. Not really expecting a whole lot out of that at this time, but definitely going to be keeping an eye on things. And then over here, where I mentioned before, right here towards the mountains, you're not going to really get a good low-level jet reading at this point. That being said, let's keep it moving here. We're going to take a look at those temperatures that I was talking about. So everybody might want to pay attention to this map here, because the heat's about to be on for a lot of us, especially anyone that's west of the Mississippi here. Going forward, you're seeing those 80s, 90s starting to come back into the picture for the heart of the country. You can even see it over here towards the northern states. We have Dakota starting to get into the 90s here. We have 95 in North Dakota over here. This is over towards Fargo, by the way. So just perspective, it's getting to that time. As we go further along, you can see that stretch of 90s even working its way into South Texas now. It's kind of building backwards, which I kind of find interesting here too. Normally you see those 90s and triple digits come in first, but it looks like we're getting it the opposite way here. Then as we continue to move forward, here we go. This kind of looks a little bit more like normal. And then here those triple digits starting to come in here. So if you're over towards central, southern Texas, the heat is here. Wait no longer by the time we get towards next week. Eventually, even if you're east of the Mississippi here, it starts to heat up, getting into the 80s, starting to see some 90s come into the picture here. So make sure you have the water on you. Make sure you have the electrolytes in you if you're an outside worker like myself. And then as we go further along here, it's pretty much going to be the dominant trend for at least all the way up till the 20th, where the northern states start to cool down a little bit. A lot more troughing is expected to occur there as we get towards the back half of the month here, at least till we get towards the 25th. Out ahead of that trough, it's still going to be pretty warm, and then maybe towards the back end, the southeast and the eastern seaboard might start to cool off a bit. Looking at our dew points here, and this is going to be another interesting factor for severe weather. I would say as of right now, I have a lot of questions regarding our moisture return for the 14th, because it seems like we're really going to be struggling with that. So again, I really think that wind and hail are going to be the main threats there as we get to from the 14th into the 15th. 15th looks like it might become the most promising day, because thermodynamically it looks better on the 15th. We have better wind profiles in the kinematic department, and then also we have good moisture here. It seems like a more pronounced frontal boundary itself kind of takes over as well. And then as we get towards the 16th, plenty of moisture, just lack of shear seems to be the big issue there. And then that Gulf moisture is going to continue to be prominent as we go throughout the rest of the month here, especially towards anywhere east of the Mississippi. We do see a pretty sizable moisture return towards the end of this model run here. Obviously, with it being the end of this model run, not a whole lot that I'm willing to just kind of bet the farm on, saying, okay, this is going to be a big event. So we're going to be kind of just hashing things out as we go further throughout the week here. So another thing we're going to take a look at quickly here is our instability. This kind of is like a little bit of an early cheat code, even though I would say at this point I wouldn't expect to see anything super robust in regards to instability. If anything, like I said, 15th looks like the better day when it comes to severe weather potential. So far, everything's kind of been all over the place. It's not really matching up in one particular spot, but 15th looks like the best day. We have pretty good instability over here, about 4,000 joules per kilogram. We look at the hazard type, marginal tornado threat, decent shear here, but this definitely has that look of maybe a solid damaging wind, maybe a hail sounding here. So probably would expect linear segments with this if this were to pan out in this current manner. Of course, by the time you see this video, a new model run may be on the way at this point, or maybe finished. So with that being said, as we go further along here, notice the instability is starting to ramp up over towards both the southern plains and the Midwest towards the end of the month. So far from finished when it comes to severe weather here. We're just kind of in a little bit of a, we've kind of caught a little bit of a lull in the action. But as far as what is considered to be the peak month, we're not doing too bad. We're actually, I would say we're a bit below average in regards to tornado numbers, which was to be expected if you saw the spring forecast here, or at least the May forecast. But as we go further along here, this is where we would expect to see our storms develop. We actually aren't getting that much in the way of initiation here based off the GFS. So another interesting factor that we're going to have to take into account here. Storms seem to be firing a little bit further off towards the north based off the positioning of this low. But we'll hash out the details because we're still about a week out at this point. So a lot of unknowns left to be determined here. Saturday looks like it could be pretty active in its own right. And then, of course, from that point, we're watching the southern plains and then also the northwest here for increased severe activity, western high plains as well as we go forward. But that's all I got for you guys. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Make sure you hit that like button and that subscribe button. I got to get in the shower and get out of here. Appreciate you all watching, and I'll see you next time.